And we're back.
Back again.
Back again. We are here to talk more about music. Today's subject is vocals. That was really robotic. It's like today's subject is vocals.
Okay, get ready.
So we've covered now the music industry a bit, songwriting. We've looked into guitars and drums, and shout out to Devil Driver and Bad Omens drummer.
Bad Wolves.
Oh, Bad Wolves, sorry.
John Boklin.
Yeah.
Or Berklin.
Thanks for shouting us out, man.
I've never, ever been able to pronounce his last name, so that's all my bad. But he, as someone I've idolized since the early 2000s as a drummer, and to have him respond or even share.
Yeah, it was really wicked,
it meant the world to me because of a lot of my drumming has been based on his drumming. So to have that response was just...
Yeah, that was cool. Thanks, man, for our little shitty podcast here in New Zealand. Shouting out.
My heart is fulfilled.
My heart is full.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the fourth part of our music series, and we're talking today about vocals. So both of us actually did not start with doing vocals. Like last episode, Scott started off as traditionally as a drummer. I'm a guitarist. We kind of got pushed ourselves into vocals, I guess, to for different reasons. And we're kind of going to get into that today. How we do our vocals. I, for one, haven't actually sung in a little while, or actually done a recording of my voice in quite a bit of time. But I was playing in a cover band for a few years, doing some singing and vocals, and I've done a lot of original projects, such as the Nighthawk Experience, which still got music out there. Scott MCB stuff. Scott has done stuff with, they're not called States anymore, but his old band States, where he was rapping and screaming. He's also done a bit of hip hop stuff in the various projects. So we're here just to kind of, I guess delve into sort of how we got into vocals and our experience with vocals and favorite singers, and just the whole process of being a singer and a songwriter in a band or as an artist.
On that note, what I'm going to ask you.
All right.
What made you want to do vocals?
Right. So what made me want to do vocals? So initially,
who or what made you want to do?
I don't think it was who. I've always been really big on, even when we were in a band together, I was always really big on, if I'd write a song, because when I write songs, it'd be like a whole piece. It wasn't just a few riffs. It would be like a whole piece of music. Generally, I have like a song name, and I kind of have a topic in mind, the song's actually going to be about. But I was very not confident in my voice for a long time. I didn't really want to be a vocalist because I just didn't think I had the skills to do it for ages. The reason why I got into it was actually kind of out of necessity, because once I started doing some solo music of mine, I was writing on my acoustic guitar, messing around with stuff. I was like, what am I doing with the vocal part of this? Am I going to get someone else to do it? And I already had been playing around with writing lyrics for a little bit. I was like, okay, I can't have someone else sing this. I have to do it, which I think I mentioned on one of our other podcasts. So I was like, I want to sing. I want to be the one who needs to sing these lyrics, because I don't want to write these lyrics and have someone else sing them. Also, I just found it sometimes difficult, not always working with vocalists, but like if you write a song with the lyrics in it and give it to someone else,
it has no emotional connection to you.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't really want to do it like that. And I also... I guess I just wanted to, challenge myself too. I was like, can I do this? And it was pretty tough because I went and did all these open mic nights for a while. It was brutal.
I just wanted glory and fame. No, I didn't. That's not why I did it.
I knew being a singer, I was like, this is going to be hard because my voice at the time, I didn't know what I was fucking doing. And I tried to take some vocal lessons. I tried to... kind of figure out where my voice was at, sort of what range I had. And then kind of one of the big wake-up calls I had was when I recorded my Scott MCB stuff, which the vocals for that are fucking shit. I listened to those recordings and I'm like, oh, but I'm so happy I did it because I proved to myself that I can
do it.
I can do it. Yeah. The quality is not good, but I can do it.
Yeah, but
So
you did backing stuff in Anamoya, the band we were in as well.
Yeah,
You used
yeah.
to do backing stuff live. I mean, probably a couple of screamy sort of things or low growls and stuff. But I remember, there was some backing things that you did as well.
Yeah, I try and like experiment with it and sort of see, just to kind of provide a bit more power on some of the things live, which I did enjoy. But I think at the time we just, I don't think we were gonna. I think maybe we were starting to go into more, not too vocalist territory, but maybe I'd do a bit more, or at the time the bassist would have. Or 'cause I know you weren't keen. You were like,
Nah, I was doing too much on
You were
drums.
doing too much on drums, which was like, yeah, it's fair. But then obviously it broke up. But so yeah, doing the acoustic guitar and singing, that was like as raw as it gets. So I felt like it was like boot camp almost, because you're like literally going to these open mics
You're
and just
naked.
training and
Yeah,
you know, there's nowhere to hide, which is also, there's a beauty in that, which I really like. There's a beauty in not and being like naked in front of the mic. It's tough.
Yeah,
It's very tough. And
It
also
is.
being before, especially more playing in like metal bands, rock bands, punk bands, and a variety of other things, but generally loud music. Suddenly it's like, this isn't loud music anymore. This is like acoustic guitar, you know, like singing with a microphone. If your voice is out of key, everyone knows about it. So,
But
yeah,
I guess that's the thing though as well. Like when you're doing your music, right? So you're writing your songs, and I get that. Like you have an emotional connection, and then you've written the lyrics as well, and you're like, no, I'm gonna do these lyrics over these songs. So that was basically the main thing that made you do vocals, was like, nah, this is my and you wrote it was an album. It wasn't like one single, which I did originally, but it was an album's worth. So there's like a friggin' huge attachment there. So I don't, regardless if you look back at it now and you think, oh, I could have sung that better and done this and all that, I think it's probably better that you did do it that way, as opposed to listening back going, yeah, that singer's mean, but fuck,
I should have done it.
That's not their project.
Yeah.
You know?
Also, some of the songs, especially on the Scotty MCB stuff I released, it was extremely personal. So I was like, can someone else really understand? Maybe they could. Maybe there is someone out there, but I just didn't know anybody who could. So I was like, well, I need to be the one to do it. Like, I had some pretty deep songs. I had one about a mate trying to kill himself, and then I had a pretty some pretty deep songs, which I think maybe people can connect to them and take whatever they want from it. But I think giving it to another singer, I just didn't have someone around. And I think the other thing is what I've learned with solo projects, trying to get other people enthusiastic about your solo project in normal life is very difficult. Because even like with the Nighthawk stuff, that I got a little band together, and I was trying to then kind of not like get everybody like, I wanted people to be psyched on it, but like excited to play and then sort of look forward to the future. But unfortunately it didn't work out, and I don't blame the guys at all for that. But part of me was like, the only person who's going to be truly psyched and who's truly going to like want to do something like this is me. I can't convince anybody else. They have to be already convinced, but if they're not convinced, there's no point in trying to push people to be interested or push people to stick around. There's that's kind of something I learned. So yeah.
Which singer though? Like which singers did you look up to? I mean, there's obviously like your Chester Benningtons and stuff. We can all go, oh, we idolize these people, and
for sure,
probably in the shower or the car try and sing like them. And there's some things I can do like them, and then there's other things I'm like, wow, that's really naked and bare and doesn't actually sound anything good at all. But like, what singers did you listen to that you were like, I like that person's style, or your style is similar too?
Yeah, there's definitely a couple. So one of the singers I was trying to do in the early beginning was Ra Reynolds, Ena Shikari.
Oh, yeah.
Very diverse voice. The guy just does wild stuff. Also, I learned how to do like my inhale screams from him before I could actually learn how to sing. Yeah, the fucking sounds like a burp, but just like doing that. But then I I loved his voice. Just the range was just nuts. So I found that really cool. And then, Chino Marino from Deftones is another one. Just the way he do his... I think the thing that captured me the most about him was his delivery. It's a very unique delivery, which a lot of people have tried to rip off. I didn't want to rip it off. I just wanted to be able to like
Do your version
do
of
a
it.
version of
Yeah,
the delivery.
yeah.
But I've heard a lot of people do that, and I'm like, that's cool, but I want to try and take influence from it and do something a bit different. I think it's just also one thing I learned. This is going to sound funny, as in the beginning when I'd sing my songs, I'd be like, ba, 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 you know, sort of like, just kind of like, almost like not yelling out my vocals, but I had one song called In Your Mind where I remember I'd be like, in the verses, it was like, how did it go? It's like, so the verse would be like, I could tell you, but then at the time I couldn't deliver it. So I'd be like, I could tell you, and I'd be like, whoa. But at the time I had no idea. I was a new vocalist. I was like, the delivery, Then my deliveries all whack. So because something else I learned, even about a lot of amazing singers, they're not all perfect pitch singers. Actually, most of them are not.
Actually, yeah.
Most of them are not.
Most of them.
So what I learned, apart from like Freddie Mercury, right? But it's like the singers I really like. I mean, give or take a couple, but most of them are just like incredible at delivery. And it was like, if the pitch is a bit out, or like the pitch isn't amazing, but the delivery's great, that's almost better. But it took me a while, because I would get so freaked out in the beginning, everything's off key, it's off key, I'm not hitting the note, I'm really freaking out, and it's like, actually, should just relax and just focus on delivering some nice vocals on top, and you know, practicing obviously on being on key and wanting to get better. But the initial delivery and the sensitivity should be what's the focus. Like for example, like here's a weird one: is Jimi Hendrix. He never wanted to sing.
Yeah, he just got.
But he was like, I just have to do it, and he just did it. And you listen to the songs, and he's great.
I think that was Headfield as well.
I think so. Yeah,
they tried a bunch of singers,
Metallica,
and then
right?
they were like, "Fuck." Headfield was like, oh, "I'll do it," and then it was like, "Well."
And he has a voice that everyone's trying to rip off as well.
I know, and
he didn't want to sing.
He didn't want to sing.
So I mean, that's happened a few times with some amazing, very famous musicians and bands who are very, you could say, very incredible and defining in their genre. So I sort of was like, I should just chill out a little bit on trying to nail everything and overthink it. Just focus on, just delivering the song lyrics and the message, and just in time, just work on getting better at holding pitch and getting better at
Well, that's
getting better at that stuff.
Essentially that's the artistry side of music. Is like, it's not. In some ways, it's not meant to be perfect.
No,
it's meant to be.
No,
I think there was a stage, if you can say like the metalcore, hardcore industry, there was a stage in like 2010, 2011 where we were drums, guitars, and vocals. We're just getting so overproduced,
so gridded,
just so perfect, and it was just like, oh, that's kind of like shit.
Exactly.
We want to hear it a bit raw. And
I know what you mean. It's like I think it's like the production age, like because everything was so digitized. It's like, how perfect can we make this?
Yeah, and
how perfect can this be?
I understand that. Yeah, when you go into a studio, you're paying a lot of money for a lot of good things to happen, but at the same time, you're kind of like, there needs to be an element of human about it. Otherwise, it's just, nah.
Yeah, that's the whole thing with music, right? It's meant to be human and like being vulnerable with music, but then if you try and be like, perfectly, everything's perfectly gridded, and especially like in like rock or alternative music, like it's meant to be kind of ugly.
Yeah.
It's not really meant to be nice, pretty. I mean, obviously it needs to be like good. But it's like, it doesn't need to be perfect.
It depends on the nature of the person as well. That's the other side of it. Is if the nature of the person is some hard person, or they're quite brash, and then they're painting themselves as this princess on a mic, it's like, you're not like that at all.
That's what I always got weirded out with like Oasis.
Yeah.
Like quite sensitive songs, like very kind of, I call it like mum radio music, some of it, like,
the most
just
obnoxious
like coastal
brothers.
Yeah, just obnoxious, loud, like proper northern English, like, you fucking what, mate? Just like, that's what they're like in real life, but then on the microphone, it's like, said maybe.
It's quite crack up.
It's buzzy,
Oh, that's sweet. So that's basically what, obviously the Nighthawk experience and that.
I was I was so proud of how those vocals came out, because I worked really, really hard on those, and shout out to Zoran as well, because he pushed me a lot with the vocals, and we got some amazing results I thought I could have never gotten. But I listened back to those songs, I'm really psyched really stoked as well with how they came out. So it's a sensitive, very sensitive sort of instrument. Like your voice is so like let's say taking feedback, or I think I mentioned this last time, like saying someone says your voice sucks, like someone says like I suck at guitar, I'm just sort of like fuck, all right, whatever, but voice is like very sensitive.
Dude, I have the most nasally sounding speaking voice, but when I rap and scream, it's a whole nother. It's fucking
well, let me turn it on to you, man.
Turning on me?
Turning on you. What made you want to rap or to do vocals in general? Because when I first met you, you had recorded a single which
it's
you hadn't
a banger,
released.
and it still hasn't been released.
So it hasn't been released.
The video's done. It's been done for
Yeah.
over 10 years now. The whole song, and it's a fucking banger. It really is. It's kind of like Linkin Park sort of stuff, but I never did a backup song, and that's why I never released it. But
what was the initial, like, why did you want to rap? Like let's say, go back in time to that point.
So I would say in early bands that I was in, I was drumming, and I could do like some screams that I would never do now, because I was like, man, I was just yelling shit at the time. I thought that was like a cool scream, and then I just realized that wasn't the way to do things.
Wasn't that cool?
Nah, and I did that in a couple of recordings, but the bands that I was in when I was young, we always had like a good backup guitarist that could do some screams or singing, and I was like, how you see someone with an acoustic guitar and they can just belt notes, and I was like, I'm a drummer. I saw that and I was just like, I'm gonna stick to drums, because that's what I do, and these guys can really sing. Little did I know I was taking in like downloading information, watching these guys sing, and I was like,
subconsciously just taking it in.
And that paid off when I actually got to a studio to like, how did they do that? And then I would let myself go and belt notes big, and that's when the engineers were just like, do that. And I was like, okay. And that was the part about, I'll get into it, but what made me do rap essentially, I mean, I don't really know. This is the weirdest thing, because I was not a vocalist, and I had a friend up north who would do just like little songs with a little home studio, and I've surfed with him heaps, and he was quite a good freestyler, and he would rap and stuff, and we would surf heaps together. He was a bit younger, but we got good friends, really good friends. And then he was like, bro, you should jump on a track with me. And I was like, oh, and do what? And he's like, oh, just, I don't know, have a jam. And I think he meant like, just let's have a rap. And we just mucked around and shit. And then for some reason, I just messaged my friend Jeff, who actually wrote the song with me. I said, I want to do a single or some songs. Can you do the guitars and the bass? I'll do the drums and the vocals. And he was like, yep, all good. And my parents, all my friends were like, you're not a singer, dude. You've never been a singer. Listen to your voice. And I was like, yeah, it's nasally as fuck. And then everyone told me not to do it. Like basically like everything with the drums. You're too old for drumming. Nah, you're not a vocalist and blah. And turns out I'm fucking good at drumming, and I'm great with a microphone on stage.
You are.
So
I've seen you live a few times. You have a great stage presence.
Yeah, so I was just kind of like, I don't know if it was a thing to prove everyone wrong, but I feel like for me, the reason of being a vocalist was I have a fair few stories to tell about life. Some are really funny. Some are fucking dark, really dark times. And I was like,
no one else can tell those stories.
I don't think people have seen my life for what it really is.
Yeah, I understand that.
And I was just like,
I kind of feel a little bit of that too.
Yeah, and I was just like, nah. And then when I started doing some rappy stuff, I was like, oh, it's okay. And my mate who did like this hip hop stuff up north, I had mucked around on his computer. I'd actually done like a couple of good lines and stuff. And he was like, I just remember putting his hand up going, that's the one, do that. And then that style. And I was like, oh, really? And then it was actually, there was a turning point. When I heard Murder Love by P.O.D.
Okay.
Yeah. That I heard that and I was like, damn. And if you listen to that and then you listen to my single, which isn't released, you will hear where I kind of was like, I wonder if I can do, and I just like, it just came out of me. And I was like, oh shit, I can do that. And then I went to the studio
you found your niche.
Yeah, and then basically if I just let go doing that style, that new metal style, it just really, really came out of me. And everyone was just like, fuck, that sounds sick, do that. And then I started, I could do some screamy stuff as well. And I had like one certain scream that I did for years. And then recently I've been doing another one, which is more North Laney style. But I kind of like, okay, I can do the rap stuff and I can tangle up lyrics, and I loved tangling up the lyrics, and then like actually like it's pretty intense, like making a jigsaw puzzle to try and be better than the next rapper or something, you know, like nah, no one can hit this hard. And but then it was the singing part, you know, and that's got into a studio. I was doing my single, I had like this verse, this chorus, it's all written down. I'm doing my song. I'm with Hayden Taylor, and I've done like my verses. Yep, man, done some screams. Cool. He's like, awesome. Now let's get to the chorus. And we get to the chorus, and I had like my singing style, and he was just like, yeah, no, that's we'll delete that. And I was just like, fuck. And then literally, I was like, that. It's because the song was hitting so hard. The verses, the music, the instruments, the ideas I had for strings in it, and the sub drops and all this other shit that was going on. And then I just remember him like, one day he's like, go home and write a new chorus, and I'll be back here at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
And we'd finished a whole day of recording, and I was like, and he wanted a singing chorus. And I was like, I'm fucked. Because I'm not a singer.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
how do I write a chorus to this?
But I like I said earlier on in my life, I'd been taking on how other guitarists projected their voice playing acoustic. And that's where I kind of took over that. And me and Hayden were like bouncing around like melody ideas. And then I just like literally went to the studio. Hayden was late because I think he was fucking hungover or something.
Probably.
Which is trying to crack up.
Classic recording engineer, producer.
Yeah, and I was at
Sorry, I'm late, man.
Yeah, I was already at the studio, and he was coming in, and he was like, I'll be there in like an hour. And I was like, fuck. And just this thing came over me, like, for some reason when I get pushed in those moments.
Yeah, the pressure, right?
I was like,
gotta act.
Just wrote this thing down, belted it out, wrote it down, belted it out again. And he walked in, and I said, I think I've got it. And he goes, okay, let's hear it, kind of doubting me. I went in the booth and just banged it out. And he's like, hang on, do that again? And I was just like belting out the chorus. And he's like, fuck, that's really cool. And it was like more power style singing. But the rap.
Sing, scream sort of stuff.
Yeah, just like that really belty sort of power singing stuff. But I always, rapping, I just love like the textures. I love how I can... And that sort of came in time, you know, obviously years later I meet you, we do our band and all that sort of stuff. And then time goes on again, and I obviously like retired from drums for a while. And then one day I was like, oh, I think I want to do vocals. And I joined the band that was called States at the time. And they auditioned me, and it just turns out that, and it kind of goes back to what you were saying before about vocals, that for me, and this is something that I see with a lot of vocalists, and I've kind of always maybe had it and was able to get rid of it. Delivery is like key.
Yeah.
The delivery, I don't care like how far out or what is, but whenever I see a vocalist or a singer on stage, I want to know who they are, whether they're in tears or they're pulling the fingers or whatever. Because this is very much how I was. I was just, the first time I was on stage, I was pulling the fingers at the crowd going, what the fuck's going on? Everyone was like, whoa. Like, I was right in their face. And I was like, well, this is who I am.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hide. Like, I'm going to let go on this microphone hard. And really interact with the crowd and all that. And that's just, I found that
came really easily for you.
that's kind of how I am as a person, you know. I wasn't trying to be someone else, and I knew that. And then, fortunately enough, rap is very much about being. Yeah, it's notorious.
It's a lot of confidence. Doing rap is different from singing because you can kind of sing and be a bit like conservative.
Yeah.
But rapping you can't.
Nah,
you can't be conservative with rapping. That's why it's probably the most cocky, confident music genre, which makes sense because you kind of have to be. If you're gonna do like rap and say all that and say a lot of words in a short amount of time, you know, first of all, you've got to have a lot to say. Then you've also got to be very confident in the things you're saying and deliver it with punch.
Yeah.
I mean, there is obviously some sensitive rap, but again, it's like there's no doubt in their words, whereas in singing there is. So that's kind of one of the differences I pick up when I hear rapping. I'm like, oh, you have to be very like, oh, this is how it is. Like, there's no fucking cutting corners or like, there's no hiding. Even though in singing there's no hiding, but I feel like you can be a bit.
You can be a bit softer, but with rapping, if you started like, if you didn't fit like with rapping, it's a black and white like. This dude is bullshit.
Yeah,
you know?
It's so obvious on stage because rapping in front of people is fucking hard because everyone's like, "Go on then, tough guy, show us your fucking raps," and then if you can't do it, everyone's gonna be like, "This guy's shit. He's got no flow. He's boring, or he's not confident."
It's
and
the
whatever
delivery, man.
And if the delivery,
it's
definitely the delivery.
It's the delivery. Delivery. Yeah, it's how you get the words across, and I find when I would write lyrics as well, it was exactly how I would speak. And this is another thing as well. When I wrote lyrics down, I mean, fuck, I swear my head off black and blue. Like,
yeah, you do.
I never took the swear words out, and people freaked out on it. I mean, the band that I was in, they were a little bit, I guess, freaked out on how I was vocally like that.
Yeah. But that's also like who you are, though.
That's who I am.
And that's also something like, I think if you like stop doing that, then that's like, oh, you're not. It's like censoring yourself.
I've seen singers like that, and
weird.
They're not like who they are on stage, and who they are off stage. And I'm like, it's not who the fuck you are, man. I know you, and it's like, go be you, because I want to see you. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I don't want to see a watered down version. I want to see you like actually tell me about who you are, what that is, or what this political view is, or whatever. And and it's very people
are scared of putting themselves out there.
I didn't give a fuck.
No, I know. Neither did I. Yeah. After I did those open mics, like, for my experience, I was like, I don't really care. Because I also know, like, for myself, my personality is like, it's a bit cheeky. It's a little bit like, it's a bit blunt, and I'm like, well, this is actually who I am. I've got some stories to tell as well, and it's like, well, what's the point of trying to like, what's this crowd? It's like, what am I, a cover band or a DJ? Like, fuck off. This isn't like, that's the thing. It's like, original music will always be, because like when I was playing in a cover band, it's very different because you have to look at the crowd and be like, well, you know, what's our age bracket? You know, who's here? And then you learn fuckloads of songs, and then you like, oh, yep, we'll play these songs because these people will like it. But that's different because it's like a business. But when it's your own music, it's like, fuck these people. This is my gig.
Yeah, totally. And that, like I say,
again, the confidence though, confidence to be like, this is my gig. Check out my shit I'm doing.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, some people as well, like, I don't know, you and me had it was weird. Alana she had the voice and the writing, but she didn't have the stage
presence.
No,
maybe as much. I remember that.
Yeah, whereas we
probably gone better.
We couldn't wait to get on stage. I think deep down, like, people like you and I and many other musicians around the world or whatever are like destined to be entertainers, whether that's telling a story or playing the instruments to the best of your ability.
To express yourself, and like to I guess it's like a very honest way of being, I suppose, if you're like doing that. Being a vocalist or a musician, it's very, especially a vocalist, like you can't really hide, there's nowhere to hide, you know. And if you do it as honestly as possible, you know, and only some people can do that, because a lot of people don't like to, people are very scared of judgment. People are very scared of other people's views and other people's ideas, and like, oh, this is confronting to other people. Someone might get offended, someone might get upset, someone's going to say something mean, and it's just like, well, who cares?
I think
But it's hard. It's not easy to get to the who cares part.
Yeah.
You got to get to because when I started singing, I was like, oh man, it's gonna suck shit, and it would, but it doesn't matter because it's an open mic. You're meant to suck. You're not meant to blow everybody. I mean, some people blow everyone away, but it's like the point is just to get out there and enjoy it. And if you're having fun, no one really cares.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the big thing. It's like if you're having a good time and you're enjoying it, other people will probably enjoy it too.
Yeah. Or just like be. I hate to say it, so cliche. Be true to yourself. And this is the thing: if you're a soft, emo-y, lovey style songwriter, will do that.
It's fine.
If you're a bit like me and you kind of go,
fuck you,
fuck the world.
Yeah.
Like at some point in your life, and
it's also very healthy.
Yeah. It's like
it's very healthy.
It's the best way to get it out. And like I had a female singer of another band come up to me after a gig, and she was like, how do you run the stage? Like, how do you do that with the crowd? And I was like, what the fuck? I'm just being me.
Yeah.
Like, she was like, what? And I was like, it's who the fuck I am, man.
Yeah.
I just walked off. I was like, I'm just being me. Like, this is,
But people will really want to try and get a version of that because they struggle with like the stage presence and stuff. Like for me, like being on my own, I had to learn how to command that. Which was good. But if I've played in a band before, I'm like, oh yeah, like this is a team. Like we can take on the fucking world. We can take on anybody. I'm so confident in us because we're all here. So every time I played in a band, I would never get shy. Never. On my own in the beginning I did because I'm like, oh, this is just me. But then with a whole band, it's like, yeah, we're a fucking team. Like we're all fucking here playing the music we love and can't wait to share it. It's like, yeah, like who gives a shit?
And I think as well, if people and they've written songs, whether they're a solo artist or they're in a band and they can't find a singer, but they can write good lyrics and they've got some maybe different delivery, go and try the vocal side of it, man. I'm not saying it's for everyone, but there's people that can sing really, really well. But they can't write a fucking word to
save. So many. Word
to save their life, or they haven't actually got the truth behind the story. And it's like, well, if someone in your band can actually put some shit together and maybe they don't sing perfectly, it's like, get them to deliver it if they actually have something to tell and they can put their phrasings down. I was fortunate enough that like, hey, I'm not the best singer, but I can rap pretty fucking good and scream pretty fucking good. And I'll do it live and actually mean it, what I'm saying and what I'm doing. Sure, my singing, someone might go, a little bit off key there, but it's like, man, I don't care when I'm in a pool of sweat and there's a whole band jumping up and down and like everyone's having fun. It's like,
whatever.
That's the artistry side of it. But I'd just say to people, like, give it a go, because I do know people that can sing really, really well. And then you go, oh, can you write some lyrics? And they just freeze. They've got no idea how to like let that side of them out. And it's like, damn it, because they're really good singers.
But then it's like with those really good singers, it's like, but they can't write. It's like, man, it'd be great. Like, you could be being a great performer and a singer, but you can't write. Like, there is a place for you for 100% being a great singer. But yeah, it's just finding those. Everyone's got their little quirks and differences and what they're good at. It's hard to have like I know for me, like my lyrics are a bit funky. Like I just sort of whatever flows for me. Sweet. How people rhyme, how many syllables. I couldn't give two fucks about that. Really don't care. Because when you in the beginning, I'm like writing lyrics, like, rhyming this line and having this similar and having this. I'm like, oh man, this is becoming like a fucking calculation. This is lyric writing. It's not meant to be a calculation.
It's kind of it's a little bit like that. Like
rapping's a bit more calculated.
It is. But I've found my best rapping is when it's just I'm letting go, and you'll find. It can be much more calculated, but the thing is, if you rap and you do it so calculated, it actually doesn't. Once again, the delivery doesn't work. Yeah, you have to have the natural delivery, and
because having the delivery there and just
like that's what I mean. You're
letting out
it.
stuff, and then you can be like, oh, let's now start calculating.
Yeah, that's what I would do. I'd break it.
I do that with singing as well. I'll just like say some fucking shit that just comes out, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Let's just, write it down, and let's come back to it, later. And then, change this word, maybe say this differently. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's how I should write. I used to try and jam in so many words for a while. I was like, I have so much to say, and it's just like, this is just too many words.
I found that in music as well. In some ways, in this day and age, some songs you maybe have to do that because of the low attention span and the short.
Yeah, well, I think we said last time, pop song 2 minutes 30.
Yeah, shortening of the songs. It's like
something.
Get your words out as fast as you can. But at the same time, if you especially if you're singing certain things, you want the note to sing, and you want it to, and then you can do harmonies and all that sort of stuff with it. It's the same with rapping. I'd chuck different textures of lower rapping harmonies or some.
You're really good at that. I see. That's one thing for me is like I can do octaves really good, and if I really have the harmony drilled into my head, I can get it. But I find it hard to do. Like main vocals, like no worries. But yeah, trying to harmonize, like be on key with the harmony.
It was weird. I could harmonize, but getting the main thing down for the singing, I was just like, fuck, I was so far off.
Like in the studio, it was like double tracking, like main vocals, like octave vocals, no worries. The in between parts, hey.
Yeah.
It's like I'm say, what am I, a piano? It's like
I found like with the delivery thing and the artistry as well. And one of the songs in the band I was in last year, states. The song we never released with my vocals on it, I had written like a singing chorus, and I think I was trying to outdo the song Hostage.
Okay.
Because that had a singing chorus, as well as a rapping. It was kind of rap.
That was cool. Was it Hostage? Oh no, Relentless. I really liked that chorus.
Yeah. Well, that's more of a rap one, but the Hostage one has a bit of singing off the back of it, and I was trying to outdo it because my original chorus was like, I mean, fuck, it was Nick the guitarist. He's like, I actually like when did like a little vocal session. I was going, I've got this singing one. It's better than the one we've been doing for ages. And he was sort of vibing with it, and then he was like, just the original was just hits. And I was like, and I went into the studio and I did the singing one. And I spent so long on it, like nearly destroyed my voice doing the singing side of it. And Zoran was like, well, you either have to sing it up here or here. And he's like, your voice sits here. Yeah. And I was pushing so hard to do one or the other. But then I did the original. And he's like, what are you doing? That sounds like Rage Against the Machine. Just let's scrap the singing. Yeah. Is that your original? I was like, that. And that I kind of understood what the rest of the band was hearing. But in my head, I was like, nah, I don't know why for that moment I stepped out of character. I wasn't being myself because the stuff we'd performed live, the stuff we'd done in practice, the stuff that I did naturally, I was like fighting against it.
That's better.
And it was like the guitarist.
I've done that.
And the guitarist, and it was actually Zoran, and he was just like, dude, they were like, that's dope. It was like kind of that Rage style. And I was like, after I heard it, I was like, oh yeah, that's better. My singing is shit. I'll stick to the rappy stuff.
I think it's like that critiquing, right? You want to try and like, oh, this is definitely better. Or like once you have your mind set, like this is better, then it's like the original, it's hard to like come back to, but more often than not. I did that with one of my songs that you recorded with me with the Nighthawk Experience called Settle the Feud, which I haven't released yet. Those verses, I was with Zoran and we chop and change them like about fucking 10, 15 times. I rewrote them so many times.
Yeah.
And then we're just like, oh, let's just come back to the original and just spice up the harmonies, and it sounds really good. And it's like, that's all it needed.
Sometimes the simplest thing is the best thing. It's real weird.
Less is more so much with music.
Yeah.
Less is always more.
It's quite bizarre like that. It's the same with so I would say with rapping, one thing I always did, or screaming, is I would try and find like the textures of it. Like obviously where my voice sits is where it sits. But then I could do like some lower tones or some higher tones. And it's the same for like the screamy stuff. I would always, when I was younger, I would do like what I called the Corey Taylor scream stuff. And it was cool until it destroyed itself.
Destroyed your voice.
Yeah, it destroyed my voice so
Yeah.
much. And then I just thought that that's what they were doing, just yelling. I didn't realize there was technique behind it at the time.
Yeah.
And then I went to, I lived in Australia after this, and I watched a metal band, and I was like watching this singer, and he was so relaxed on stage with this brutal scream, and I was like, how do you do this shit?
Why is he relaxed?
It's just like walking around, this noise is coming out. And then I'd kind of realized it was technique, and then in the band I was in
Oh, he's been vocal training.
yeah, or his scream. It was the way he was doing it, and it comes back to technique, mic dynamics. How you use a mic can make a huge fucking difference on your delivery or your scream, and you'll see a lot of screamers that cup out the mic.
Yeah.
You know, to kind of get that sound.
Oh, yeah, seen that a lot.
Yeah, and that's what he was doing. And I started realizing about your different fry screams and all that sort of stuff as well. And I was like, but I had good screams that I could do. And then even like recently, over the past few years, I started trying to like emulate different screams, which I now, even though I'm not doing music,
You've learned them.
Yeah, I'm glad I did it. I did it in one of the last recordings I did with the old band, but I kind of wish I had done it more, but I'd only sort of in the last few years recently really dissected my screams and stuff. But that's a whole nother thing for like, if anyone's listening, when metal vocalists are doing like their scream, it doesn't hurt their voice. It's actually like there is so much control over them. And some of the guys and girls that have been doing it, they've been doing it for 20 years. They know
how to control their voice.
It's like telling a singer, if you get a singer and go, belt out this one note all day, eventually they're going to fuck out, but they'll know how to hit these notes powerful and strong because they've trained the muscles to do that. And it's the same with the screamy stuff. People just think, oh, it's just fucking yelling. No, it's fucking not, man.
Nah, it's hard.
It's like massive technique.
Hard to do it.
Yeah.
I can't do the fry scream. I've tried a few times. It's fucking tough. I can just do those shitty inhales because it's just like a false chord and it's just a bit like, but I just more for layering. I never was like, oh yeah, that's a main vocal line right there. Nah. But when I hear like you do your screams, I'm like, yeah, that's fucking sick. Give us one. Give us a fry scream.
What?
Give us a fry scream.
There's like two. There's like the North one, you're like the it's, you know,
so evil.
There's that sort of stuff, and people go, oh, does it hurt? It doesn't, man. I feel nothing. It doesn't alter my voice. If it was hurting or doing like painful things and you were losing your voice every day, well, you're doing it fucking wrong. And I learned that years ago from doing like what I thought was the Slipknot stuff. Yeah. And I was just yelling. There's one scream I can't do, and I've always wanted to do it, which is definitely the Chester Bennington thing.
I've given up.
No, or just like the way he screams.
Oh, the way he screams.
Man.
It's nuts.
I'll go into a studio, and then at the end of a recording session, an engineer will be like, right, the song's done. Yeah. Let's just go for it and add in some parts. Yeah. And I'm always trying to do my Chester Bennington thing, and I've lasted about 10 seconds and my voice is gone. Yeah. And I'm just like, how is he doing this? Because like it's
one of the best vocalists of all time.
It's kind of like a yell. It is actually kind of like...
He kind of invented the sing... I don't know if he invented it. He definitely... He made it popular. Very popular. Yeah. He popularized the sing scream. Yeah, it's pretty. It's very interesting because I listened to going back to Linkin Park because they're fucking great. But I listened to the Hybrid Theory 20th anniversary, and they have a lot of unreleased tracks that they never put on the album. It's really interesting because I heard Mike Shinoda talk about how Chester. We were trying to figure out Chester's voice a lot in the beginning of like what to do because he's insanely talented, can do so much. But where does his voice fit within Linkin Park, the band? Yeah, and his voice sounds just like Alice in Chains and grunge. And it was like at the time, apparently what they had to do with Chester to like help him was sort of be like, oh, you don't need to like I hear your influences from grunge because he was notorious. I mean, he was in Stone Temple Pilots for a bit. I mean, like, you know, the dude's incredible. He can do so much with his voice, but he loves grunge. I mean, that was Chester's main inspiration. Alice in Chains, Stone Temple Pilots, you know, Nirvana, all that stuff, I think. But so in those early recordings, it just sounds like like Lane Stanley a bit. From like Alice in Chains. I'm like, oh, interesting. But they obviously took a lot of time to work on his voice to kind of make it more individual and authentic to him. And then it came out, fucking amazing, right? But it's really interesting, like those singers and how they get to their, find their authentic,
like
persona.
his yell scream thing that he does. It's so genius. Like I have two different screams, a yell, and then I have like a powerful singing thing. But here's kind of like the whole lot put together, and he just turns it on, turns it off.
Yeah, he's got it all.
I was just like, fuck. It's so good. It's so clear. It's so raw, and I love that. But also comes back to delivery, man. You gotta,
you can really feel Chester's voice as well. You can really feel the pain and the anger, the frustration.
That's
like you really feel it. And I think that's like when I first discovered them when I was younger, I was like connected so much because I was like, nailed. Like this is how I feel.
Yep,
got it.
That's why I started switching to that scream I was just doing. Is it was more raw. I can rap doing it as well. So like rap, scream, rap, scream, rap, scream, and then I would. Yeah, I became really playful with it, whereas my other scream was more like, it's really tricky to get into. I can hold it for fucking ever, but it's really tricky to get into. And it's kind of like Chester's blended both.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck. How he's got them both together, and I was
how did he do it?
And he's running around doing it. And I'm like, asshole.
He was something else.
But to vocalists out there or musicians, that if you're in a band, and I know looking for singers, it can be a nightmare. We've been lucky, you and I, for band we were in, we found a singer that was one of the best singers, songwriters. We just kind of, we were really lucky. But I know from being in bands, finding a vocalist, singer, rapper, screamer to be in your band
and fit the music.
It's really hard, and then also be a good person.
Yeah,
you got to get along with them as well, man.
To be a good person.
Yeah, or just like have some character that everyone.
To gel.
Yeah, and
I'm always like jealous of I was jealous of like bands who they all meet when they're young and they all just stick together.
Parkway Drive or something.
Parkway Drive or like Inshikari like that, or like Sum 41 like that. There's so many bands that do that.
Yeah, it can be hard, but if someone in your band can actually string lyrics together, tell a story, and got half a bit of character about them, I'd be like, let them go on the mic, man. Like, let them have their moment as a vocalist. It is a whole different challenge as well that both you and I stepping away from the mindset. And I think that's one of the most important things I forgot to say. I think I may have said it in a previous podcast, but being a drummer and then drumming a song, and one of the most important things was I may have said it before, what Jeff said to me one day. I was doing a little bit much drumming in my single originally, and he pulled me in the control room and he said, we need to erase all this drumming. Like, what are you doing all this for? And I was like, oh no, I wrote this and I got this part for this. And he's like, you're doing too much. He's like, remember, you're the singer. This has to have words on it. And he's like, don't think like a drummer. Think like a vocalist.
Yeah.
And I was like,
room for your voice,
holy shit. And it made so much sense to me to like, I have to let this part of the song really breathe. And so I pulled all my drumming
back. Space
in
music is so underrated, I think, especially in like the metal rock world at times, not all the time. However, I have seen the opposite happen where there's too much space and I'm like, I'm bored. But then I've also seen the extremes of like often when it's like let's say a metal band or some alternative rock band's more techie, and I'm like, man, where's the space to fit in your voice? It just doesn't work as much. But then it's funny, there's a band I listen to called Polyphia, and they like have crossed over modern pop music with technical math rock. I don't know how they did it, but they nailed it. They have a song called ABC, and it's so fucking cool. This chick on it, Sophia Black, I think her name is, and there's like ABCDEFG, everyone is like, and it's like a pop song structure, very technical guitars under it. It's like, wow. So it can work, but those guys are geniuses. I mean, it's very impressive, but it's very rare when you can get something quite technical and a vocalist to work together, and
it still has space.
Still has space, and it gels well. It's very special when it happens, but it's very hard. It's tough to get that to work together. Architects are a band who nail that really well.
They are.
They can do the technical and mix in the vocals. But a lot of bands try and rip it off, and it doesn't work because it's fucking tough. It's hard to make the technical and have somehow also have space and vocals, and doesn't feel like a clusterfuck of sound.
Yeah.
Unless that's what you want, then why not?
Yeah, and that's cool if you want to do that. It's same with rapping, man. If you do too many words, you can kind of let one word have a bit of character about it, or chuck a tail on it, like a little off the back of it to give it a bit of different flavor to it. But it's when I started thinking like that as a vocalist, when I started recording vocals, and I was told that to think like a vocalist, don't think like a drummer, as I'm recording drums. Yeah, that was the most weirdest thing.
Good advice.
It was like right when I'm tracking the track, he said, think like a vocalist, don't think like a drummer. And I'm recording drums, but it made total sense to go, oh yeah, I have to do vocals on this song, and if I do too much, it's a clusterfuckery. Yeah, and ever since that one moment, I think that was probably the most influential moment for me as a vocalist, because at that moment I had learnt, as a musician, to learn to go, okay, I need to create space, also space with words, and putting breaks in and pauses, and yeah,
that's the thing as well. I watched a guy on I can't remember, I saw it on Instagram, and he was actually about making rap beats, and to make them really pop and sound even harder is having the pauses in the beats. And I listened to it, and I'm like, fuck, so crazy. Like a quaver beat, like quarter beat, not even that, maybe a bit less, just like a bit. Start the beat again.
Oh, bro, if I was
like, man, that goes hard.
That's why I said when writing drums, I'd almost have the bare naked essentials, and you'd be surprised at how I would write a song now on drums, because I'd be like, there'd be some on-off shit, and you'd be like, what are you doing? I'd be like, you're going to carry the song with the guitars and bass, and I'm just going to come in on bits. Yeah. Because then once the vocals land in it, it seems it sews it all together.
Yeah, I guess guitar-wise, I think one that always guitarist fascinated me was always Tom Morello, Rage Against the Machine. But on the first, the guy, he's got a really interesting story actually about, because he was I don't know if he's still, I think he is still a guitar teacher, but back then he was also a guitar teacher, and he was also in a band in the 80s. It's quite interesting looking like his old band, like a glam rock band. Kind of doing all the 80s style, very solo-y, doing lots of stuff. And then in Rage, he completely flipped how he thought about guitar. Like, oh, I'm the DJ of the band, which is fucking cool. What a great way to think about it. And then you see him, like in these songs when the rapping and the bass, and just makes like, whip, whip. That's it. Yeah. Just makes little noises on it. And that's all he does. Yep. And I'm like, fucking hell, it's such a cool way to think about it. But no one was doing that. No. So unique. But I'm like, yeah, just less is more, or being quirky. I remember one of our songs we did called I Am, and I just had scratchy guitar.
It works though, man. Yeah. And I had a straightforward 4 beat.
Yeah.
It was just and it's so punchy. And it gave our singer at the time, Alana, a shitload of room to sing and scream in it. And it's the same with lyrics. You can have moments where the lyrics is doing the on off, and the song's busier. Switching it up and stuff like that.
Let other people also different instruments shine or do really well, like how you transition something. Yeah. It's all. Yeah, I think you all want to work together.
I think also for singers, which is absolutely daunting. It wasn't for. It's daunting getting on stage and for the first few times or whatever. I don't know. I was more excited to get on stage with a microphone. Yeah. Because I wasn't singing clean notes. So I was like, fuck, I'm going to light this motherfucker up, eh? Yeah. And I did exactly that. But I see singers and maybe for what you're doing, like guitar nights and stuff. And the poor people that do it, they're really scared, and that you can see the pressure on them. And it's almost like, don't worry about being perfect. Go up there, and if you feel like you're failing, start singing your heart out.
Yeah.
Like, because you'll probably be surprised at how much better it's going to sound.
It'll resonate.
Yeah.
It'll
Just start letting go of those words. The more you project your voice and your words and all that, like, it'll actually work out better than pulling it back, trying to be perfect. If you're stumbling on things, I'd be like, just let go. Let go. And that'd be my best advice for any vocalist.
It's hard to let go, though.
You've got to have the confidence.
You've got to have the confidence to do it. Because I always wanted to do it, and that's why, like when I was doing vocals in the studio, that's when I learned to like really let go. And that song I did at the time called "In Your Mind," I learned how to get to my really high belting notes. And I was like, at one point, I'm like, it's like a post-chorus. I don't know what section. It's just like everything's quite more low and mellow, and then it builds to this last part, which is just massive. Because I'm a massive fan of outros. So I want to make like a really big outro. And then, I just belt out these notes. I'm like, fuck, I didn't know I could do that. But I let it go, and it just came out, and it was just super loud as well. I think I was with Hayden, he was just like, fucking shit. Turn this down. This is loud. But he just let it go, and then I was like, man, I've got this. And it's like when I was recording one of my other songs with the Nighthawk Experience, Human Nature, and there's the falsetto bit. I didn't really know I could really do that, but I was just fucking around. I'm like, the only way to do this is like, where is it? I'm like, and I'm like, and I'm like, I can do the high notes.
Yeah.
But I just like, I can do it.
It's kind of weird, eh? You're in a studio and you're playing with vocals, and you're kind of you're in a safe space.
Yeah.
You know what? I mean, depending on how hard you work, if you work really hard and the engineers and that know you have worked really hard, they'll feel pretty comfortable about telling you how hard. Let's just scrap that. I know you've got something else in you, because they've seen your work ethic. But you are still in a safe space. It's then transferring that to the live stage, I think. Luckily for me, what I did in the studio is how I sounded live.
It's no different.
But we've all seen singers that have huge harmony pieces and shit, and they get on stage and it's one singer. It's like, man, you ain't gonna sound like you're recording. Yeah,
for sure. That's one thing I was always lucky for myself, because I know how I sound in the studio. Especially in the beginning, people were like, man, you're way better live. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I'd hear that from a bunch of people. And then when I would go back in the studio, and then just like, oh, this is just way better now. Obviously, I have experience. So I'm just like, doing the vocals is just much easier. I'm like, oh, it just comes out. Can experiment, fuck around. Like, I'm definitely nowhere near as good on the vocals as I am on guitar. But I'm like, like I can definitely, I can do a few things. So that was, a big sort of, learning curve. Like letting it go, being vulnerable, and then being all right with it, and then just like it's just about the expression. It's about the expression.
Delivery is key, man.
Delivery is key. Anyway, who is the best vocalist?
Me.
Same. That's what I think. Listen to my songs in the car. I'm like, fuck, it's me.
I'm like, fuck, this guy is gold. He should get a fucking
damn. He should be getting so much money.
Bro, where's the pussy?
Where the ladies?
And then I'm like, I think that who is the best singer? Is there a best singer?
So open to interpretation.
Man, it's art. It's a form of art. Like everyone's gonna like what they like and not like what they like. I would just say to everyone, listen to everything. The best singer I've seen live is Florence and the Machine.
Oh, true.
Yep.
Yeah.
What a woman.
I worked at the gig. That one.
Dude, oh my goodness. I never got to see Queen with Freddie Mercury.
No.
I was just too young.
Yeah.
I wasn't actually too young. It just wasn't on our radar at the time, I guess. But I would liken her, from someone who never saw Queen with Freddie. People would be like, oh, but you can't do that. But I would liken to what I saw from what I've seen footage of Freddie, because, and why I'll say that is, she can belt notes, and I mean proper belt notes that are just bang on while running.
Yeah, it's
and
nuts.
she
Yeah.
ran through the crowd and then jumped up, and she's crazy. She's this tall, beautiful woman that can just smash out notes, and they're so precise. And then she'd be on like the music desk in the middle of the crowd,
Yeah.
like flailing around, and she's just run. You got security running behind her, like trying to keep up, and she's just like holding these huge notes.
Yeah,
For me, that was
sick.
that was a vocalist that I was like, I don't know how you top that. I don't know. Like, I can say, I've seen System of a Down, all that.
Yeah.
Amazing. I've seen The Killers. Cool. What? I've seen Tool a bunch of times. Rad. I've seen Muse. Yep. Epic. But the one singer, I was just like, fuck. How do you do that?
Yeah. That was, yeah. For me, my version of that is Bruno Mars.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, because I
definitely.
saw him with an ex of mine quite a while ago, and she's like, I love Bruno Mars, and I was like, roll my eyes, like, whatever. I was like, I got a free ticket, do you want to come? I'm like, you know what? This is a massive pop artist. It would be interesting to go check it out, production-wise, and just, I'm a big, music tech geek as well, and I love all that stuff, live sounds. I'm like, let's go check it out. Damn.
Yeah.
That guy can fucking hit everything, and he can dance, he can play the guitar solo, he can play the trumpet, he can drum fucking really good.
Good. Yep.
What a dick. And I just watched him and I'm like, this is why he's the top man.
He's been performing since he was a toddler.
Yeah, well, I saw an interview of him on MTV when he was like 9.
Yeah, or no, even younger. He used to dress up as, I think, Elvis. He used to have this
Yeah,
little
yeah,
Elvis
yeah.
outfit, and he used to
I think that's what I'm thinking of.
like
yeah.
dance around and shit.
Yeah.
And he was like a toddler, man. It was like little, and I was like, okay, so he's been performing his entire
Since day one.
Yeah, his entire.
He got like
life.
the Tiger Woods treatment.
Yeah. So I mean, I totally agree, Bruno Mars.
Bruno Mars live, I love, and after that, I listened to when I don't love all his music, but when he gets the real like James Brown funky stuff he does, but like kind of like with the modern electronic spin on it, I'm like, oh, this is fucking cool. I
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
like
yeah.
this, and I was just like, yeah, I take back what I thought.
I've always liked his music.
I love those moments though when I'm like, these guys are great, or this guy's great, or girl. I'm like, yeah, I was wrong.
Yeah.
I like being proven wrong with music. I actually really like it.
Yeah, it's same. Like I liked Florence and the Machine. I liked that it's pop music. But I was like, oh, she's different. She's this
Different flavor of pop.
yeah, and she was just really. And the funny thing is when she was speaking live. So
Yeah.
I went to that gig with like an older girlfriend of mine, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. We're going to this. I don't know heaps of her songs. I know a couple, but fuck it. I know she's a good singer. But obviously, I walked out of there going, oh my god, like I'm in love.
Come home. Sorry, babe. I'm gonna find.
When she speaks, it is the like when she was speaking. I don't know if she was always like this. It was a polar opposite. She was like,
It's very different.
I just want to say thank you to everyone. It was just the most softest little voice, and she'd stand there with a microphone like shy.
Yeah.
Just so shy, and just introducing the band, and she was just like, but then gone to a song, oh my god, talk about
Let's
delivery
Lose,
and
yeah.
letting go. This woman, man, I was just like, I bet that's what Freddie was like.
Yeah.
I bet that's what he was like.
You watch those performances at God, what was that really famous gig he did, like at the stadium, like a charity gig. Oh, I can't.
He
believe
did
I can't.
heaps of that
Nah, but like the really, like where he does it, the ayo.
Yeah.
What's that? Oh,
I can't remember.
I can't remember. Kick myself. I can't remember it. Yeah, that. Well, I watched that and I'm like,
But you know what I
That's,
mean? Like that's where
that's another level.
It's the
That's,
multi-musician.
he could just capture people though.
I know.
He was so capturing. It was amazing. On the opposite spectrum of this, one of the worst people I've seen live. Not actually a singer. It was actually a rapper. Wiz Khalifa.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, he was absolutely terrible. His band was incredible. Thank God he had the band though. His band was the bomb.
Yeah.
But as you'd probably expect,
They do
from
have
some-
the best musicians.
Yeah, because he's so massive. But he was just so stoned.
Oh, real.
But to such a point where he was just like that real. Well, at the time, this is a little while ago. His biggest song at the time was "Black and Yellow,"
Yeah.
and it was just like he would just came on like, "Oh, like New Zealand weeds, like," and just messy, stumbling
Yeah,
everywhere,
yeah.
and the band is killing it, and he's just like, "Everyone sing it."
Oh, he's
Because he's just so
wasted.
wrecked, and I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
"Fuck, man! Like this is so shit."
Fuck, who have I
Because you
seen?
can be wasted. Like I've seen gigs of like Oasis back in the day when they're all wrecked.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
to see Liam just like pinging out like, like he can't even get a note out. He's just so wrecked. But I'm just like that. But as like you watch that, it's like it's so disappointing. It's just like, man, you're at such a high level and like playing to tens and I mean touring lifestyle is brutal. You know, I understand, but like fuck, like.
I've never thought who the worst is.
I don't know. I just like chatting shit.
Yeah, fuck, no, it's all good. I mean, I think that's funny. There is definitely musicians I've seen I've been let down on. But I think a lot of bands I kind of know what I'm in for. But yeah, fuck, hard case.
Yeah, Wiz Khalifa. I think he's a good like studio musician. I imagine.
Yeah.
But I mean, hey, maybe he is great live. Caught him on a bad night, but it was bad. like I'm not gonna like just give a pass to that.
Yeah.
I think I don't really most bands I've seen live I've never really been super disappointed.
Nah.
He was a part of a festival, so he was just there.
Yeah,
Like I didn't really
yeah.
think too much of it or whatever. At the time when I watched it, and I was just like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
But I imagine everyone has their nights or whatever. It is what it is.
I was gutted I never got to see Chester.
Yep.
I never got to see Chris Cornell.
Yep.
Really pissed off. Me and you didn't get to, and we talked about it, that last Prodigy gig with Keith Flint. He died straight after it.
That was so sad.
And we were like, oh, we're going to go, oh, no, we'll wait till next time. And it was like literally straight after he fucking died.
That was so sad.
They went back to the UK and he fucking cucked it.
The other one for me is the Cranberries.
Oh,
I never got to see them live.
Yes.
That was crazy. So like Chester Bennington, I forgot the name of the girl from the Cranberries, and Keith Flint all died within like a few years.
Yeah.
Of like
Chris Cornell,
I think died a little bit before Chester. I'm like, this is fucking sad.
It was shit. It was a really shit time.
And all of them was suicide, wasn't it? Keith was suicide.
Keith was suicide.
Chester was.
Chester, Chris
was. And she was. She
was
killed herself in
well.
the bath.
Yeah.
Oh man, it broke my heart, that stuff.
It's bullshit because
It
if they knew how many people actually gave a shit.
I think they probably do. I just think they're so you're just so in your head.
Yeah.
And I think just like I know
so sick, you mean.
so so mentally ill, and like, there's and that just goes to show, it really proves a point. Like, these amazing musicians, great artists, top of their game, and those guys all really were top of their genres, top of their shit, right?
Yeah.
And they have all, as people envy, especially I think now, like even more so, envy the top of the echelon of like fame and likes and followers and all that shit and money and look at this, like,
yeah, and
what does it get you? Really, are they happy? I mean, it's sort of like, it begs the question, like, is that because a lot of people will chase, it's just so. I think now I get, I think that's always been there, but I feel like it's even more exacerbated now, like to want to chase the followers and likes and the subscribers and the thrill of like people love me because I'm so popular.
I'm the opposite, and that was my old stage name, but I would rather have no social media.
Yeah. I mean, we obviously are all on it because we want to, like, I put this shit out, but I'm like, yeah, I mean, do I feel validated? I mean, I'd like to get paid, but as in, like, it's like on some music videos I put out, I never got anything crazy views, but I'd say on one of my songs, like on a video, I probably got a few, maybe like 30K or something views and whatever, and I was like, oh wow, that's done really well, but I don't look at it being like, yeah, they love me. I'm like,
nah, yeah.
But I'm like, I look at it,
most of them are haters, bro. You know that.
Probably. Well, this voice is shit.
This fucking voice, man. I sing better than
that.
Like, yeah, but you can't write the music, motherfucker.
But like that's the thing. I think like it just really means nothing. All of that. It's because it comes down to, it's like with doing what we're doing. It's like, this is fun as fuck. Whether anyone listens to it or not, I mean, it was nice if they do, but it's also like, this is just fun.
You know what the best part about this is? Is we're not on our phones.
No.
And I wrote a song about that.
But we're on our cameras.
Yeah. And it gets delivered on your phone.
Yeah.
And there's a song I actually wrote about it, and it's called Hostage, about being sucked into your phone. But yeah.
I wrote a song I haven't released yet, which taps into
the same thing.
A little bit, but it's more like, so It's funny, I wrote a song like 4 years ago before the pandemic, and I'm like, this is like too real. I can't listen to it now. As a song I recorded in the Nighthawk, I want to release, but I have a big music video idea, and I'm like, I can't release it because I have very high expectations.
Well, one day, I don't know. One day I'll release my single.
One day.
Yeah,
I have a whole EP I haven't released yet, but I'm just so needs to be like, I just have
people can hear our stuff. Some of your stuff's online.
Yeah, some of your stuff.
Some of my vocal stuff on the previous band I was in, that's online. You can listen to that. You can put a link to it.
Yeah. I'll put a link in the description.
I've always wanted to say it. Put the link in the description below.
Subscribe for more notifications and like all that shit, right?
Like and subscribe, and don't remember, thumbs down, not thumbs up.
I don't think you can do thumbs down anymore.
You can, but you don't see how many fucking people it shows.
You know what's really weird though on YouTube now? It's like you can like hold inappropriate comments, and that's the default setting of videos. I'm like, the fuck?
What do you mean? What? You can
so like you can filter your comments, right? Which you can do, but the default setting. So if I upload a video or a short or whatever it may be, the default setting is hold inappropriate comments. So basically it means like anybody who has anything negative to say, those comments won't allowed to be posted. And I'm like, the whole point of the internet is to see everything. Like, it's not nice and there's problems, whatever, but it's like, I'm not posting the shit to filter it.
No, well, hey, I'm the anti-filter. Say what you like.
But it's like, to me, it's like that defeats the point.
Yeah,
because that's what always I crack up so much with like YouTube, and like you watch all these news channels or media outlets from like mainstream, right? And they just can't really figure it. I mean, yeah, they've gotten better now, but I remember in the beginning they just couldn't figure out like how YouTube worked. We need to filter everything and be controlling. It's like, it's the internet, bro. Like, good luck with that.
Yeah, things out of control. That's why we're doing vocals. Let go. Like, be yourself. Like,
Coming back to it, come back. Yeah, well, that's the thing we really need now, I think. And that's the beauty of podcasts, or with being able to do this version of the internet, is you can really be yourself and really let it out, and it's all right. But the thing is, people aren't gonna like you, and you have to, I don't know, it just is what it is. Like, you're never gonna please. But in your life, who is liked by everybody?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Good luck finding someone who is liked by everybody. I think it's pretty much impossible. And if they are, there's some lies going on.
Oh, definitely.
All the skeletons in that closet that they don't want out, right?
It's fake as.
Fake news.
Sweet.
I think we'll call it there, my bro.
Yeah.
That was fucking good, though.
Sweet as.
We'll put this up on all the platforms.
Probably chuck a link to some music. So
I'll put
people know that we're not talking shit.
We're not just talking rubbish, like, we've done all this stuff. We've done this shit, but we haven't released anything. So we actually have, We'll put some videos and EPs and stuff in the links. And if you really want to check it out, that'd be cool. But if not...
shout out to the other musicians that we've mentioned and bands we've been in as well.
Definitely.
We do show respect.
We're very lucky, and like, I think it would be cool at one point to bring some people onto this, but I have very restricted space at my house. So
I'd quickly say a shout out to the guys that did let me be the vocalist of their band. I can't pronounce their name of. They've changed their name, obviously.
Altea?
I think so.
I don't know.
I don't read too well, which is weird because I was a vocalist, but that comes out of there, not actually. Yeah. Anyway, but shout out to them for actually giving me the opportunity to be a vocalist, because that was the first time I'd actually like legit been a front man of a band, which would have been a front man like me that said what was on his mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So shout out to them for giving me that.
I want to give a shout out to me for putting myself on my music.
Definitely, man. The Nighthawk experience for sure. That stuff's cool as. And it's very diverse. Yeah. This guy writes diverse music. It's
I have ADD, that's why.
Yeah, but no song's the same. That's what I love about it. And I love that.
Thanks, bro.
It's not like listening to an album where we've all heard a lot of bands and it's like one song.
Copy paste.
Yeah. Fuck, I don't want to hear that shit.
Sweet. We'll call it there. On the Scots.